Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nasty Gram RPG podcast for another installment of Choose Your Own Adventure. This is The Blind Leading the Blind, Part 1.
Now I'm waking to pain and shaking.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome to the Nasty Gram podcast. My name is Dan, and I will be your dungeon master tonight. We're doing a little mini adventure today. We're going to have these every now and then, and they're going to be between 1 to 4 sessions tops. The first segment of these one-shots is going to be D&D 5th edition. The setting is a homebrew setting we call Regnum. We played in this little imaginary sandbox world for a good 3 to 4 years. And it won't be critical for you folks out there to know all the flim-flam. We'll keep it pretty loose, but needless to say, our players have a lot of freedom to work in an environment they know well. When we started Regnum back in the day, we were still playing 3.5 because we're dinosaurs. It was a low fantasy, low magic at that time. And then we had an event called The Awakening, and we switched it over to 5th edition, and now it's high magic. Imagine me doing jazz hands right now.
High fantasy.
Yeah. And adventure. Magic. Ooh. So magic, on the whole, it's still pretty scarce. Imagine how frequent a professional athlete comes out of your town. So that's kind of the setting in terms of getting wizards and whatnot into the setting.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I do like that.
And then because you got your Michael Jordans that are like your epic level heroes, they don't come around very often.
But like for a real person, I'm like, I knew one guy that was drafted by the Red Sox and made it to like AA.
Right, Kyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he was like a first level wizard.
Kyle and Aaron Leverell, right?
Okay.
Those are the two from Westport that I know of. So, yeah, it's kind of that frequency, and of course, with bigger settings or bigger cities, there's more chance. So the classes are pretty much the same, a few tweaks here and there, and a few of our homebrew as well, but we won't dive into that yet. The central premise of the characters is that they work for an organization called the Tredecium Artem, the 13 Arts, a collective that deals with complexities of the reintroduction of magic to a world that had very little of it. The Tredecium is made up of a number of components. Think 1 part university, 1 part security force, an arcane repository, even zoologically. So think stables of unicorns, that kind of stuff. Not really, but seriously. And then one other quick explainer before we begin. Each of our players is part of a different branch of the organization, so they'll be repping that. And my last note, I am going to try to live up to our name, Nastygram, which means that during the course of the game, I will hand out Nastygrams to some of our players with content that I think they would know. And this just avoids me telling them, information and then their characters parroting it back, and also avoids them making bad rolls and not getting the information I want to give them. So, foolproof. Take notes, ladies and gentlemen.
Love it.
So why don't we go around the table, and why don't you say who you are, what you're playing, and what branch of the Tredecium you're playing.
So I'm my character. This is Ryan. My character is Hilgus Hirlikit. He is a human paladin, and he is a member of the Warden branch, which is the aforementioned Guardy guys.
Meat shields, right?
The meat shields.
I thought we were
yeah,
going to get too technical.
Yeah, full on meat shield.
Yeah.
And I with my super intelligence, I'm going to be getting a lot of those nasty grams, I feel like. So,
right?
Yeah.
Tasty.
Hey, it's John, and I'm playing Bartosz Stoneborn, a stone dwarf barbarian. He's in the hunter school, hunter group. Hunter,
yeah. School
group. He's one of the
Club?
group of hunters who goes out and finds magical monsters and brings them to heal.
This is Josh. I'm playing Veet. Veet is a human sorcerer, street urchin from the big city of Ragos, and he is representing the Requisitionist School, or group or class or whatever the fuck club.
We really know our stuff here, folks.
It's an extramural activity, but they are responsible for requisitioning stuff and or equipment.
Yeah, I think information and, if there's a tasty little magic item out there that the Tredecium want to get their hands on, they might send one of these gents along.
Cool. And I am Matt. I'm going to be playing Ali-san. He is a mountain dwarf druid of the Arcanum School, which is the study and use of magic in all its forms.
Nice. All right. We got our party. Now, opening scene here. We're going to start at this place that we call the Tredecium. And the structure itself was carved from a large rock kind of outcropping in the lowland hills just outside the nearby city of Thom. And it was sort of a modest peak, and it was cut into 4 sections. And so think almost 4 separate towers, and there's drawbridges in between. And it's rumored that there are large subterranean portions as well. But most of the daily life takes place in those towers. And it's rumored to have upwards of 3,000 people within its halls. So it is quite the little organization. And Josh, where do we find Veet in the Tredecium at the moment?
Veet is at the armory / supply warehouse, trying to convince the supply clerk that he needs additional gear for an impending mission.
Absolutely. And if we were to imagine Veet, what would he look like?
Veet is, as I mentioned, he's a human northerner, so he's got pretty bright but pale blue eyes, light blonde hair, fairly fair skin, short, about 5'7", fairly lean build, and he is dressed in very functional kind of traveler's clothes. Doesn't wear armor. Has a lot of he has kind of like a sash across his chest with little pouches on it, and a belt with pouches as well. Doesn't wear a backpack, just has kind of like pouches and little pockets all over the place. A cloak. And Veet is very shifty. He's kind of always on the move. Not fidgety. He's fairly smooth in his movements, but he's just kind of always moving.
Okay. So he doesn't like have a fidget spinner going.
No, but although sometimes you might see him like with a coin or something.
Okay.
But when he's moving, it's a smooth but just steady, kind of like a perpetual motion machine.
Rhythmic.
Yep. And his eyes are kind of always panning back and forth.
Awesome. John.
Yeah.
Where would we find Bartos at the Tredecium?
Bartos is probably at the dining hall, getting a mug of ale, trading war stories with the other hunters.
Excellent. There's a few others here at all times, people coming and going. And if we were to see Bartos, what would he look like?
He is a dwarf with gray skin, like stone skin, with stark white hair, white braided beard, piercing blue eyes, and his entire body is covered in blue tattoos that glow sometimes.
I like it.
And he wears pretty simple leather traveling clothes, and he has 2 black obsidian hand axes at his side pretty much at all times.
Very good. Ryan.
That's sexy, John.
Yeah.
So Helgis would also be probably in the dining hall, perusing the selection of cured meats and cheeses.
Excellent. There is a banquet table.
Yeah. He's what you'd call country strong.
Got it.
So he's a little on the, he's got some muscle, but it's kind of, it's hidden under some insulation a little bit. He's out in the field. He's usually, he wears chainmail, and he likes to fight with his hammer, which I have a name for that I just forgot to write down.
Of course you do.
His hammer, Morning Schmiedel.
What do you call your penis? I'm curious.
Also, Morning Schmiedel. Yeah,
Of course.
I thought that was the Night Spiegel.
Yeah, Schmiedel. It's anytime of day Schmiedel. And kind of fair complexion. Reddish, kind of red cheeks a lot of the time. Reddish blonde hair. Younger. So probably no facial hair,
Okay.
not by choice. Like
I see. Like maybe a few wisps.
yeah,
here and
he's,
there.
he's got one of those like three hair mustaches maybe.
Oh yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
age. How old is Helgus?
We'll say 19.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow,
He's a baby
Yeah,
boy.
country
Yeah,
boy.
yeah. fresh to the
And Josh and John,
Veet is 22.
Veet and
I wrote
Bartos?
unknown for
Okay,
the, for
I like
the
that.
age because
Yeah. So just a little tiny tidbit for you guys out there. Dwarves really came about when magic came back to Regnum, and they kind of came out of the stone, and now they're kind of reacclimating to a life among the living, a life of flesh. So that's where John's character is, and I think that's where Matt's coming from. Matt, where are you in the Tredecium? What are you doing?
What time of day is it?
It is about 1 PM. So there are a lot of people at the food hall. But where would we find Al?
Al would probably be in the library, probably looking through some books, kind of looking back at his some historical tomes and that kind of stuff of the before times. Probably thinking about going to get something to eat. He's probably been here for a few hours and his stomach is starting to growl.
And what does he look like? What does this particular dwarf look like?
So Al is about 5'2", so he's not really tiny. But he has dark, long hair. It's twisted into cornrows and sort of dreadlocks. He's got on some black boots, black canvas pants, and his top is sort of a patchwork of multiple colors. It looks like they're probably pieces of different flags or different bits of clothing, and you see that each of them all have sort of like stars on them. Like it looks like he probably ripped off parts of things that had stars on them and stitched them together to make clothing for himself. And it's all held together with this dark blue, almost black threading that seems to like twinkle as the light catches it as he walks around.
He's got a real Technicolor Dreamcoat there.
Yeah.
I like it.
And he's not exactly stone colored. He's probably more of like a light earthy brown kind of thing. Not really stone colored.
Yep. I like it. Excellent. All right. Well, wherever you are in the Tredecium, all of you get a similar message, which is from usually a younger student, and you know that they're cynosures. These are the messengers of the Tredecium, and they extend outside the walls, but all of them ask you to report to the refuge, the Southwest Refuge. And you know that this is where many of the people in their respective schools do their studying. And Matt, it's in the library already, so you have someone who just whisks by and leaves a note for you. And it's above the library. There is a circular tower, and there's rooms in all the cardinal directions that are branching off. And the Southwest research area is where you've been asked to attend.
Okay. So as you guys are probably making your way there, you're going to see Al just like sprinting past you towards the mess hall to grab something to eat before he has to report for this meeting.
Yeah, so the three of you are making your way down, and as you're climbing the stairs towards that kind of ring area, and you're approaching that doorway, you can hear some raised voices, and you hear someone say, "It's just another one of these cults. Cults of leadership, a pretty face and a smooth tongue. There's no substance behind it. Our resources are better used elsewhere. We must focus our attention on Mishra." And that's cut off, and someone also saying, "It's exactly things like Mishra that means we have to pay attention to cults like this. Magic has been here over 200 years now, but we still have no idea how and why it manifests. Enough." You hear a voice you all recognize. His name is Caliban. He's a dragonborn, and he runs the Tredecium. And you hear Caliban say, "Your coterie is here." And the door opens, and the three of you are kind of standing.
Shout out to Vampire.
Yeah. There's a few little tweaks out to Vampire here in this game, but that is definitely one of them. And the door opens, and he and someone else most of you recognize as the head of the wardens walks out, a Goliath named Colvin, and he's scowling kind of by Caliban's side. And they both walk out and kind of glance at you, but don't say anything. And still in the room is the head of the Mythos, which you know is sort of the intelligence branch of the Tredecium, and his name's Falrus, and his attendant Garrick is standing beside him. And he kind of looks you over, and he says, "One of you is missing."
I think he went to go get a snack. It should be long.
A snack. His eyebrows kind of arch for a moment, and he goes back over to like a large desk where you can see some maps and scrolls rolled out.
Supply is what we all need.
Yes. Well, are you all ready to begin?
As ready as ever.
I'm very excited to be going on my first mission.
Matt, you kind of breathlessly run back, your stumpy little legs carrying you up the stairs. Everyone hears him before he actually reaches.
There he is.
And you managed to woof down some things, but you got most of it on the way back to the library. So you got your cheeks full, but you're back.
So, sorry I'm late.
Sit.
Yes, sir.
Sit, and we will begin. A coterie was sent to the township in a former empire of the Tory, a large kingdom to the west, since fallen on hard times since the awakening. There were reports of some sort of event, a bright flash in the sky, rumors of strange occurrences. That coterie has not reported back. You leave this afternoon. Remember, as members of the Tredecium, we are guardians of magic. That means we safeguard the people of Regnum against malign or unintended consequences, as well as protect and understand magic's presence here in our lands. Be sure you behave accordingly. Garrick will furnish you with the details. And he walks out.
That was
Caliban? That was
Valorous.
okay.
Yeah, he's the head of the Mythos, the kind of information branch.
Got it.
You the three of you gather that the conversation was between the head of the Mythos, Falrus, and Colvin, the warden. And they were having some sort of disagreement before Caliban told them to shut up.
Well, Garrick, what's the situation then?
After he sees Falrus walk out the door and close the door behind him, he relaxes a little bit. You guys know him. He's one of the kind of the right hand of Falrus, but he's fairly approachable. And he says, "I'm afraid the information isn't great. We don't have a lot other than these rumors. which is why we sent the first group, but we haven't heard back from them. And so it's going to be up to you guys to figure out what's going on.
All right.
Should have sent the A-team first anyway.
Are there any questions? I can't help you with much, but I will tell you that a cynosure will provide you journey along the first leg. The destination is almost 700 or 800 miles from here.
Whew. Well, it's quite the trek. What are these rumors that got you so wild up?
It's, the reports are kind of vague and confusing. There's reports of flooding and reports of unusual. The environment itself was somehow reacting, but we don't really have many more details. We got 2 or 3 letters requesting help, and then the letter stopped, which is unusual
and not good. No,
not good. Yes.
Who is in charge of this? The first one.
Who's in charge? Well, it was another one of our coteries, one of the early groups, and Barrick was his name. He was an inquisitor, and he was supposed to figure out what was going on. He had a warden with him, but that was it. We didn't know what sort of resources we should bring to bear on this, so we're really hoping you guys can get to the bottom of it.
So we are to find what is going on and to find the previous coterie?
That is our hope.
What do we know about where they are, what it's like, and the situation? Is it a city? Is it, where is this?
The letters that we got were from one particular place called Lockwater, and the cynosure will bring you to the crossroads. I think you'll still have a 2 or 3 day journey, but he should provide the rest of the details.
Good. And Garrick, I had a problem with the clerk at Supply. Pending, I assumed, a pretty important mission, making sure that we had what we needed. They were resistant. I thought maybe Vit kind of stands. He pulls out this little tetrahedron, kind of good sized, almost like an inch around, and it has on each 4 sides the 4 holy symbols of the northern religion, the gods of the north, south, east, and west. And he kind of he rolling it in his fingers as he's standing and walking, and says, I just think this sounds important, and we need everything that we could. With a situation that we do not know what it might be, we must make sure that we have what we might need to meet it, yeah?
Garrick kind of smiles knowingly, and he says, the head of the department down there is wise to the requisitionists, but in this case, you're right. I will write an allowance, and you can bring it to him, and you shall have what you need.
Things are done well here.
Well,
You see him kind of...
then
go
include
ahead.
mounts? Huh. Not really great at 700-800 miles. His little legs ain't gonna make it that far. Just climbing up these stairs almost fucking killed me.
The cynosure should provide you most of the journey. Provide for you, that is. The last 3 days, you'll be on your own.
Ah, good. And regular rate, I think, is what it is.
You see him kind of turn to that large desk, and he scribbles something down on a small piece of paper and hands it to you. You know, it's essentially a slip for the office down there that'll obviously procure you what you need based on your request. And he says, Valorous would like you to leave this afternoon, so make haste.
Go. Got it. I think you made a mistake. Right here, I think maybe the wrong number. There is a missing coterie, yeah? We must make sure that we have what we need to find them back.
A point well taken. This is the most I can do. And he changes the number you see it from a 1 to a 2. And he says, please be on your way. And good luck.
You can get 2 things? It is good.
It's Hilgus, right?
Hilgis, yes.
Nice. You're from... are you from... Not far from there, yeah? The inn?
Yes.
Oh, good. You can find the way. I'll... what do we all need? I make sure we get everything that we require.
They said it was a 2 or 3 day journey?
3 days after the sign is sure.
Well, we should make sure we have food for at least 4 or 5. Maybe 6. A week. A week's worth of food.
A barrel of ale.
Parchment, quills.
Real grocery list here.
You know, Al, in the tunnels, we do not have ponies to carry us about.
I don't know if you noticed, but we're not in tunnels. It's that sky. It's quite nice, actually. I don't know about you, but those tunnels weren't. I wasn't a big fan.
Do you not have mules or?
Too small.
Ooh, miniature horses.
What are those?
They're like horses, but they are small.
No.
Okay.
Oh, and Garrick. Who's in charge?
Of the quotary?
Yeah.
And that is for you to decide.
All right, we decide.
You see him kind of he was watching you in the beginning as you were like kind of talking from he was just writing behind his desk, and then he gets up and he leaves the rest of you to kind of have this discussion on your own.
Is it all of our first times or?
So I would say kind of based on the little blurb that you guys wrote that you've been out.
Yeah.
Maybe let's say you've been out twice in order to, protect some local farmers from the monsters that be.
Yeah.
And Josh, you went out with him at one point. And I'll say that you, Ryan, also went. So the three of you have operated at least once together. Maybe haven't
know
operated.
of Al, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Ryan, what do you have a certain specific god or deity or?
I can't remember the Tory pantheon that well, but probably somebody
One of the Tory gods?
one of the Tory gods.
I have-
yeah.
Well, we don't need.
Yeah.
Yep.
Veet takes appraisal of his companions and thinks about who would be the easiest to manipulate. And
It is absolutely without a doubt. It is Hilgus.
It is.
well, for me, I'm not much of a leader. I think perhaps I'd be comfortable always under the guide of a holy man, a strong warrior, of course.
No complaint from me as long as you don't screw it up.
Well, I am honored and I humbly accept the position of coterie
Right. Okay,
leader.
let's go get our stuff and get out of here.
Rations.
Yeah.
First off.
Whatever. It's fine.
Matt, you're pretty sure that Hilgus might get lost in his room sometimes.
I'll just, I guess I'll navigate, defer to him for, decisions, but I think maybe I could lead us there to start.
Is good.
The first of many great decisions by the good leader. I will take your lead and get us what we need. And what else? We have ale, we have rations, we have pens and quills. I have a few notes. I'll take care of the rest.
Josh, as Veet is walking back down the halls to pack his belongings and to gather up or requisition these supplies, you're walking down a large hallway alone. And then you realize kind of out of the periphery of your vision that there's someone walking in stride with you. And it startles you for about a half second, but you're a little used to this because it's one of the things that your organization, your branch does very well. And the man who's walking beside you, he's wearing kind of loose-fitting Bedouin style clothes. He was from Aura. And his name is Kaliska, and he's a senior member within the requisitionist organization. Ah, Veet, you're on your first journey.
Kalisko, on the way to get what we need. And you are here to offer us guidance, I think, yeah?
Guidance, yes, I believe you will find that in the great outdoors. I am here to perhaps remind you of the importance of your mission. We have a diviner amongst our ranks, and he has sensed something powerful out in those lands, out in those Tory wilds. We want to make sure you bring it home for us, yes?
This is a thing or a one?
It's uncertain, but sometimes you feel these things like a disturbance in the force. No. He says, you get a sense that there are energies, that there is magic, some sort of catalyst out there. We are curious.
Catalyst, okay. And I look for this with what kind of sense of guide of?
We feel you'll know it when you see it.
Can we all hear this?
No, he's
just talking with him.
Yeah, he's kind of walked off to go and gather supplies. The rest of you are kind of
milling about.
Well, you're
getting our packs ready.
Yeah, you're off to your own quarters. Yeah. Essentially, the Tredecium has dormitories. A lot of people live there full time. It's one of the perks of being there is that you always have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of off to the four corners to pack your bags, and you're going to meet at the gates where the cynosure is supposed to kind of pick you up.
Veet's been in the Tredecium for maybe 3 or 4 months. Still is not comfortable. He does not leave anything in his quarters.
Okay,
he sleeps in his quarters.
Yep.
But when he's out of his quarters, he has everything he owns on him, which isn't a lot.
Yep.
But it's always on him. So he goes right from that little conversation to the supply clerk and sets down his note and adds a addendum to it as he walks from Kaliska.
Make a let's
forgery.
See. I don't think forgery is a thing in 5th edition, is it?
No.
Deception?
Yeah, make a deception check for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 9er.
You're at first level. We'll forgive it. We'll forgive it. What does the addendum say?
It just says Kaliska prioritize prioritize school requisition Kaliska.
The guy down there, the kind of the head of the department that kind of gathers up goods and distributes them. His name is, we'll call him Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's he's a big guy. He's usually pretty gruff because people are always asking things of him, and it drives him up the wall. And he takes it in one of his big meaty hands as you kind of slide it across the desk to him.
This, like I said, there was something coming, and here it is. So I would say what we talked about before, double at least. I mean, we have Galric, Kaliska. So those 2 healing potions, 4, the antitoxins, the 1, maybe 2, and a few other things. Here, I make a list.
He accepts the list in the other hand. He's got one in each hand now, and he's looking at them. He's looking at the writing is what he's doing. And he says,
can you believe it? An entire missing coterie. This is one thing. Tredecium, powerful, but I don't know. Make sure we have what we need.
An addendum, huh?
Heard good things about Brock. Make sure we get him back safe.
He squints his eyes a little. This is your first?
This scale, yes. Warm up close to home, but this is the big one, I think.
This time, I'm going to let it slide.
Well,
you'll get everything you need.
They don't send the second best cynosure of Tredecium to bring us there for just no mission.
He kind of gives a huh, and starts walking off into the shelves, into the warehouse.
And you see the note at the bottom.
What's the note? The one about
gems, because we do not know what kind of coinage they might take.
He says over his shoulder, "Nice try."
We try.
He comes back with kind of 2 wooden crates, and there's also rucksacks in the crates, and you know that you kind of take the rucksack, you pile everything in, and leave the crates behind, and he's off helping someone else by the time he's dropped him off.
All right. I labor under the load with my 10 strength and make my way slowly down. I do pass by my quarters, just kind of out of a sense of like I'm not used to having quarters, and I kind of just stop there and just like open the door, and Veet looks in and wonders if this will be here when he gets back, and then carries on down the way.
Do you think
I catch up to you in the hallway doing that? You go, you got everything, Veet?
Well, here they are. I hand out both rucksacks.
Take them with ease.
What's your strength?
I have a +3, so I have 17 strength.
Yowza.
Big boy.
Strong like dwarf. All right. You guys meet at the gates of the Tredecium, and there's a guardhouse there, and a man in kind of well-made traveling clothes walks out. You notice that on many of his articles of clothing, he bracers on his cloak, and even on his skin, there are symbols. And this is pretty common for anyone who is in the cynosure school. Cynosure, by the way, folks, is just basically guides. They're wayfarers. They help people get from point A to point B in the Tredecium. And they do a few other things, but for now, that's all we need to know. And he introduces himself. He says, "My name is Luca. I will be your cynosure."
Well met, Luca.
Matt, I'm going to send you a little nastygram about cynosures so you kind of know how they work.
Kill.
Their school, they're one of the more secretive schools amongst the Tredecium. And a lot of you just know that they somehow expedite travel. You're not exactly sure how that works. But Luca hands each of you this token, and it's got the symbol of the cynosures engraved in it. And you guys have all heard of this token before. You know that you do need it when you travel with one. You don't know how that works, but you know you need it.
You just put it in the slot, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything on? Did you say there was anything on these tokens? Sorry.
Yeah, it's the symbol of the cynosure organization.
Okay, both sides.
Yeah, both sides. It's a compass. Great. Yeah. Nailed it. A compass rose.
Dan, do we need to decipher or spell out exactly what was what we got from the supply clerk?
Why don't, if you can, write a quick list for me, what you'd want, and
How do you spell Vorpal?
and you will see that Pharaoh either crossed some stuff off or he gave it to you. So how about that?
Perfect.
You need a PHP or you good?
And he has just scrap paper. What kind of fucking player shows up at the table?
So unprepared. -1 XP.
My life is digital now.
Oh my God.
I have no need for your paper.
I have both.
There you go.
Can't have everything on the net.
They can't know about my characters.
Right. They don't need to know the details.
Matt, did you get my text?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna go to a FBI black site and they're gonna go, really? Fucking 12 strength on your fighter? Really?
Wow. Suboptimal.
I was trying to not metagame,
Yeah.
god damn it.
He is spec'd for Dex. What don't you understand?
He's not that kind of fighter.
All right. So, you guys meet Luca outside of the gates, and he passed around those tokens. And as I said, Luca, he's got kind of well-made traveling clothes. He looks pretty energetic, kind of red cheeks. He says, if all of you are ready, yes?
Yeah. So I look at the Bartosz looks at the coin. How does this all work, anyways?
Just keep it on your person at all times. Be sure you do not drop it or lose track. Yes?
I will not spend it either.
That would be wise.
You're not going anywhere without it, so make sure it's safe.
Excellent. So you guys have all heard of how cynosures travel, but none of you have done it up until this point.
Now, is this going to make me feel weird or like...
Some have said that they may feel ill.
Yeah, if you're soft.
Like,
What was that, Al?
I said, if you're soft, it'll make you sick.
I have a little belly, but I think I'll be okay.
Well, just make sure you don't point it at me there, but big boy. All right? So, how far are you going to be able to go at a time there, Luca?
I am quite capable. We should make the entire journey by the end of the day.
That's amazing.
That sounds ridiculous to you.
Yeah. Is there like a door you make, or we will see soon enough. I'm very excited.
We will walk the path. And with that, the 5 of you take your first steps on the road out of the Tredecium.
This is my shopping list.
All right, hold on. Why do you need that many dildos?
There's 4 of us. That's
okay,
8. That's 8.
And then what do you find?
That's 8.
It's the old.
How do you expect we're going to ingratiate ourselves with the locals?
I don't know what kind of culture we're getting into.
Exactly.
They're universal.
Oh man, you are a serious D&D player. You got the good stuff. The silk rope, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Well played.
Well, with all those dildos, you don't
shit.
want. Yeah, you don't want chafing.
Nice.
What's our safe word?
Pineapple.
All right, so you guys take this first step into or onto the road, and the kind of the best way to describe it is you kind of see the distance out in front of you, and it's like the colors bleed together. And imagine kind of if you were to take a picture and leave the exposure open, and it kind of leaves all that streaking, and it does that, and you kind of can just sort of perceive that there are these points in which it hesitates, like you've hit something and then continue, hit something and then continue, and some of you, any of you who have a how did you describe it, Al? A soft belly?
Yeah. No, if you're a soft boy.
If you're a soft boy, any of you soft boys out there, it's some version of fuck boy. I don't know.
Soy boy. Medieval soy
It's
boy.
really weird. Any of you who are a soft boy, you do start to kind of that jolting feeling is what kind of starts to make you feel queasy. For any of you who are kind of comfortable with that sort of stuff in terms of like you don't get travel sick, it just kind of feels like a rhythmic process that you kind of move through.
Hard boys.
Soft boys and hard boys. You're really diving into the creativity here.
And we have a coterie name now. We're the Hard Boys.
We're the hard boys.
Excellent.
We're now hard.
Fucking Hilgus Howardchick in the Hard Boys.
Sounds perfect.
Write it down.
Hello, I am Hilgus Hirliki. These are the Hard Boys.
What's up,
These are my Hard Boys.
It's officially canon. It's officially canon. Excellent. So approximately 4 hours of this passes, but you have now traveled and you come to this kind of hard stop. You have now traveled 750 miles.
Holy shit.
Jesus.
And you kind of come to this hard stop, and it's pretty jarring, and everything kind of snaps back into a clear picture. And you guys see Luca, and he's definitely drawn. He's a little gaunt, and he's breathing pretty heavily, like he's been running. And for the rest of you, it felt like you walked for about 4 hours, so it kind of feels like a hike that you've taken.
Yeah.
But overall, you feel pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there.
Lucas, sit. Sit.
I think
He kind of follows you, whether he was going to do it already or not, but he kind of walks over to a large stone by the side of the road. You're at a crossroads right now, and he sits down on this rock, and he's kind of breathing heavily, and he pulls a small vial out of his belt, and you see him drinking it down. It's like a dark, it almost looks like ink. It's this dark blue mixture that he drinks down, and then he immediately pulls a pack from over his shoulder and he starts eating, like just plowing food down.
Is that it? That's fucking amazing.
We are now halfway across the continent.
I can't say it was a pleasant experience, but at least we're here.
Yeah, well,
not so bad.
you know, I thought you looked like a little bit of a soft boy.
You know what, Al?
Veet looks a little physically affected,
I think we are all hard boys.
but like very excited. Like he can tell that like he's a little queasy, he's a little uncomfortable, but he starts like pacing excitedly as soon as he gets there. Just this sense of like
We're doing something.
we just went further than he's ever gone in his life.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Matt, Al knows that this Luca must be pretty high in the ranks. That's a pretty monumental feat. And you know that he's planning on moving on. So you know that they've obviously sent you with someone who could get you here as fast as possible.
Okay.
You guys kind of take a look around, and you're at a sort of a rather empty crossroads, but there are the ruins of a small village here at the intersection. You can see the stone walls, you can see the old stone foundations. It's obviously at least a couple hundred years old, and kind of in just general disarray, kind of what you might see in like a older part of Europe. And it's just, for whatever reason, the people here moved on, but the foundations remain. And there is a paved section of road, paved sections of like town square that are still kind of holding firm. The Tory were known, think of them sort of as the Romans, and they had pretty advanced engineering capabilities back when they were at the height of their power, which was about 200-300 years ago. And they had made a number of roads throughout their kingdom, which had kind of given them the edge in those days.
Look at this. We are so far from where we were. Tredecium. I like this job.
Should we maybe have a snack like Luca? Follow his lead?
Yes. Maybe a drink.
What sorts of cured meats and cheeses did you acquire?
Oh, Bartos has them. All of them. Not so much. Half what we wanted. But
Here, I swing down the backpack and sack. I toss you some like ration, like hardtack ration.
He's good, I guess. Luca, what are you eating?
I am eating what I need to do to sustain my energy. Yes?
Cliff Bar?
No, Metrex. This podcast sponsored by Metrex. He's just plowing through food. Like, it looks like he's trying to eat it almost as fast as possible. And his backpack is kind of sitting between his legs, and he reaches in and he hands you Matt, he hands you a map, and he says, "Here, look at this. This will help you navigate your journey ahead. You go north from here." And he kind of looks back behind him. His back is in the distance, you guys can see a mountain range. And the road that leads past this little township kind of wanders up, kind of crisscrossing back and forth up these hills towards the mountains.
Do we keep these tokens, or do you need them back? can we call you with this when we get back? I'm not exactly sure how all this works precisely.
I will leave one with you. You can use it to summon me once you have returned to the crossroads. The rest of you, I will need them back.
Okay, so I'll keep it. Thanks. Tucks it into his shirt.
Here you go. I toss the coin to him.
He kind of catches it. It looks like the energy of catching it really, he barely grabbed it, but he collects them. He seems fairly used to this level of exhaustion. He's just trying to work through it.
Veet grabs Hilgus's and like goes over to help Luca as he's like gathering them up.
Yep.
And tries to do a little sleight of hand and replace his coin with another.
I'll leave it to chance. Go ahead and roll.
I like it.
Roll the die. 4. What is going on?
Get him out now.
Yeah.
He holds up your coin between like eye to eye.
Oh, that's the wrong one. It's so exciting. What kind of... I give him the coin as I'm talking. Do you think before we travel north, we should check where the people are? Find information, find if the friends, the other coterie, they were here before, and where they might have headed to.
Is this where they were left too, at this crossroads?
I spoke to their... That's not his voice. I spoke to their cynosure. He left them at these crossroads, and they went north.
Who was their cynosure?
Yeah.
Do you know?
He is a comrade of mine.
Was it Kurt?
Curtis.
But he didn't go with them, right?
No. We have many places to be.
Was he as adept as you are?
Luca kind of shrugs tiredly. He says, he got them here. Perhaps not in a day, but he got them here.
Well,
how long since the last time they passed word?
It has been, I believe, a week, 2 weeks.
Long time.
Yeah. They might not even be there. They could be long gone.
It is likely they would have called their cynosure, and I would have known this.
Unless they lost their coin.
Perhaps. That is a dangerous thing to do.
If you were to swallow it, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Because you couldn't lose it unless...
You shut it out.
Yes.
So no, that is a terrible idea.
Al will hold well. I think I look up in the sky. What time of day is it? I don't know how time has passed.
Yeah, it's in terms of time, you're not sure how it worked while you were traveling, but it looks like, looking at the sun, it looks like it's kind of early morning.
Oh, I would have expected evening.
Well, I feel ready for travel. Let us go.
That map that Luca gave you, Matt, he says, have a look. I want it back before I leave.
oh, can I have those quills and paper real quick?
There you go.
But thanks. To plop down in the dirt, and he'll start making a
traveling
crude drawing.
traveling like that quickly, getting places where you want. It's nice and all, but sometimes it's the journey, right? Taking your time, foot in front of the other.
I really thought maybe on this one shot we'd do like a travel blog, and we'll just it's all about the journey, right?
And he'll as he's making the map, he's also he's going to pull out of his bag just a couple of tomes and items of this area to kind of like cross-reference the maps, just to kind of get a better idea of where they are and where they need to go in case something happens.
In that case, Matt, I'm going to send you a quick nastygram. And when you unroll his map, it's pretty amazing. And when you unroll it and kind of lie it flat, the topography actually comes out of the map.
Oh, shit.
And you can as you're sitting there looking at it, you've never seen anything like it. You actually see clouds kind of go across it, and you can see the point at which you're at.
By the stone.
He's gonna pick it up and start like twisting it around and looking at it. How's this? I've never seen anything
Please.
like this. It's
Please do not do that.
sorry.
Well, I hope your map will look just the same and get all the details.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me see what your map looks like.
That is not my gift. I'm not a mapper.
Well, neither am I, but at least I'm trying. All you've
V
done is
takes-
fail to steal a couple of things. Scrub.
I've got everything we need. He has like a little roll he keeps across his body.
You
Like,
could have gotten more food.
just couldn't get it all. And he kind of like takes it and unwraps it, throws it over his shoulders, and it's a cloak. And he does that. He casts mage armor.
Nice.
Got plenty of rope. Could have gotten more food instead.
As you guys are looking at the map, you can see it's, I think, a kind of Scandinavian landscape.
Yeah.
Like, so there's lots of kind of rock outcroppings. They're not quite mountains, but they're pretty significant, with a lot of forested areas and some open areas as well, with small ponds and lakes.
Is there any scree around?
There's lots of scree with Goliaths just flying down it. And you guys are heading. You can see the place that you were told to go, Lockwater, and it looks like, Matt, you're kind of looking at the map in the distance. It looks like it's probably about a 3-day hike from the point that you're at.
Okay. I can't believe we're finally going to get to see this. Do you realize what Lockwater is? Tories, was a system of like small dams that they stopped water so that you could travel uphill and it was a feat of Marvel engineering. There's a lake there. It's 3 days, probably 4 days. If we don't get, if we get distracted, he's gonna look directly at Veet.
I do not follow.
We follow him.
Okay.
Excited to get there.
Luca nods his head. I reckon you are correct. Now, I must be going. Yes? Map?
Here you go.
He puts his hand out. He rolls it up. Good luck. And I continue west until I reach the Great Sea.
Good luck.
Use
Ooh.
Good luck.
happy hunting, he says.
Far.
You know that's probably another 300-400 miles.
Yeah.
And with that, you guys kind of watch him start walking down the road again, and it's very odd. Like you're watching him, and as you almost like when you blink is when he like shifts forward again.
Yeah.
And within a few seconds, he's out of sight, but he's just walking.
Nice.
One thing you guys do notice too, and you've seen them along these roads, there are they're like mileage markers, stone mileage markers, and they do have glyphs on them as well. You know that the Tredecium has been the one that has installed these mileage markers.
Oh, this is like post-story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it.
Cool.
Oh, Dan, I should tell you too. I am a wild magic sorcerer.
Yes. Tell me more about this.
So whenever I cast a spell of first level or higher, you can choose
Yep.
to have me roll on the wild magic.
Yeah.
So I roll a d20. I do. So I have an ability that lets me basically gives myself advantage on a
Sure.
roll.
Okay.
If I've used it's once per long rest. If I've used it and you make me roll for wild magic, I get the use back.
Okay. Cool. I like it. Well, let's say in your daring first spell, your mage armor spell, let's go ahead and try this out. See how it works.
So it's just a d20. Nothing
Okay.
happens unless I roll a 1. So it's all good.
Okay. All right. And that's the wild sorcery. Yeah.
Wild.
Wild and crazy guy.
Hilgus and the Hard Boys featuring wild magic.
You guys are a real menagerie.
Yeah.
You guys hit the road. It's wandering with kind of gradual switchbacks as you guys make your way into these highlands. Why don't John? Why don't you have Bartos make a survival check for me?
Sure. That's a big old one.
Bartos, would you like some help with that,
That's a
Bartos?
4.
My-
I thought
my
Al was
friend?
our survival guy.
Rolling strong,
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. You guys kind of push your way up these hills. It's a bit of a struggle, you know. Some of you are you don't that travel that you took with the cynosure, you know, you didn't push yourselves, but you all feel slightly drained. And as you walk up these mountains, some of you start to kind of notice that the nature here is kind of different. You can't quite place your finger on it, but you just isn't what you expect from kind of these forested areas. You see kind of some unusual flowers. You see some unusual vines, things that just look kind of out of place.
I tried to place a finger on an unusual chipmunk, and it ran away.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Boy, the forests are really strange this far west.
Well, it's not just west. There's something off here. These aren't native. They're not planted. A lot of this isn't
Invasive species?
something like that.
Well, are there any towns on the way? We can perhaps get some information.
Matt, you saw on the map there aren't any towns between here and there, and you know Lockwater was generally a place where they did a lot of quarrying for marble for the Tory Empire back in the day. There were two noted spots that generally were kind of campsites that people often stayed at. But other than that, there weren't a lot of other waypoints.
No villages or towns, but perhaps some camps that they'd use to haul stone from the quarry. I don't know if anybody'd be there now. We can try. It's always worth trying.
All right.
As you guys continue up, one thing you do notice, as you get further into the kind of hilly areas where it really looks like it's coming down from the mountain, parts of the road are washed out. Like there was, from that earlier description back at the Tredecium, that there was maybe some sort of flood, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't. There's no
river, not really near the coast or anything.
Yeah.
Right?
The lake and the lock system is still days from here. There shouldn't have been any place for this water to come from. And I'm not sure about you, but I think we should be on high alert. Perhaps I don't know. Somebody else, aren't you better at tactical warden? Isn't this like your bag or?
Ooh, well, I'm always alert. That's how I'm still around. When you looked at the map with the fancy map that Luca had with the weather on it, did you see any rainstorms that came through here?
Matt, there was right now it all seems pretty fair skies. And there wasn't anything on the map that you could really pick out. And again, you had seen ponds and maybe some things that you would almost consider small lakes, but not a lot of actual running water.
Looking around, do we see any standing pools of water around, like maybe in the rocks or mud or anything like that would lead to maybe it rained in the last day or two?
Yeah, you do. You see a lot of that all over the place. Now that you kind of clue into that, it seems like there may have been a really heavy rain relatively recently. But there are some spots too that where you'd think there'd be water. It's definitely dried up. You can kind of see where, like when you see a mud puddle dry up, that there was water there in pretty recent history, but maybe hasn't been there for the last few days.
You see Bartos like poking at the mud of one of these puddles with his boot, nudging at something. He says, "Is that a fish? Fish bone skeleton? That must be a good 4 feet long. The hell they get a fish out here?" Kind of knocks over.
Really bizarre.
What kind of fish was it?
I'm not a fisherman.
Well, I'm
Are you?
If it's a flying fish, that would explain a lot of things.
just wondering if it was tasty.
Well, it is dead and rotted, so I don't think it's a good eat.
Dan Veet grew up in Vragos, and the icing flow
That's right.
would not flood, but rise very high and very fast every spring.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make an investigation
Sure.
to get a sense of if this seems like a...
Like a likely candidate for that?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
4!
Crushing it.
We are rolling.
Oh, man.
really
Too bad
good.
this isn't like a Monster of the Week where you get some experience for failing. Your basic sense is that like the icing flow comes through this pretty wide canyon. So and the water kind of goes to a low point and then comes up the kind of sides of the canyon. This really doesn't have that feel. It's much more kind of open than that. John, your or Bartos' best guess at what the fish would have been and the size it was, probably a pike.
And is that ocean fish?
No, a pike is a freshwater fish,
okay.
but they're a large freshwater fish.
Yeah.
They're like probably about 4 feet long.
Yeah.
They can be pretty big.
I mean, if I had to guess, it's probably a pikefish, big lake, freshwater.
There's none are big enough around here, though. Still
And,
days
when you-
north.
When you pointed it out, it didn't make sense. This forest is just a bunch of vines growing along the dead, rotted carcass of this forest floor. Hard to keep up. This flower, corpse flower, grows on rotted plants,
Yeah.
and some of the spore. It's odd. Whatever this forest was, it's dead and rotted.
Well, as forests do over time, it's the natural cycle, but it would be longer than this. This seems fast.
Yeah. I would guess if I saw this fish here, this would have been an old lake bed. But it doesn't look like, but the fact that there's this forest here doesn't make any sense.
The questions we do not ask. The question of what the first coterie was doing here. They were here to go to a place, but why? It bothers me we did not ask this. But the answers must be that way.
You guys kind of look as he says the answers must be that way. And this road continues on ahead of you. And again, you approach these areas sometimes, like maybe 5-10 foot stretches. Other times it's maybe even further than that where the road has been washed out. And even occasionally, how you'll see kind of like jetsam, where like debris and stuff has kind of washed up. You see it kind of wrapped around rocks and or trees that are along this road. It's very bizarre because, and you see like almost bits of structure, bits of building maybe or boat. It's hard. It's really hard to say. It's whatever it was enough water to bring it all here, but not enough to tear down the forest.
Perhaps a very violent storm came through here, a whirlwind of sorts, and picked up the fish and brought it here. A pyclone, perhaps.
Like a Sharknado. Oh, it's Pike. Perfect. This is on the case. Never fear.
I'm glad you're leading the way for us.
Just a theory. We can ask about it when we get to the town.
I don't think there's going to be anyone to ask when we get to the town.
Don't be so negative.
No.
As we travel, Veet kind of trusts the path of Al, but as Al kind of guides us forward, Veet kind of keeps going ahead, kind of like quickly moving ahead and kind of sneaking around.
Sure.
He'll sneak.
Scouting out, scouting back, always moving.
Well, let's see if you can drop another 4. Go ahead and roll stealth for me.
15.
Oh,
well played,
double digits.
As you kind of dip off the road occasionally, sometimes it's just to get to look back down the mountain. Other time it's kind of a clear line of sight up the mountain where you're going. One thing that stands out to you, I guess, how much time has Veet spent out in the wilderness?
Not a lot.
He's more of a city guy?
He's
Okay.
He's a street cat.
Well, one of the regular sounds that you hear from this forest is kind of a light knocking sound.
Okay.
It doesn't seem to have a particular rhythm, but you hear it on occasion.
All right. At some point coming back, I'll ask Al about it. It's a bird, maybe some kind of creature. It knocks like on wood. Is this something you know?
Is it rapid or slow?
Slow, irregular, like pop, 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 and it comes and goes,
From the same direction or?
kind of all over.
Well, there's several species of bird.
Pike.
The pike, yeah, but they don't really knock on trees. They live in water. Anyway,
The only pike I've ever seen is in Icing Flow, and they're not usually up on the side of mountains. So I don't know, maybe different pikes here.
you sure it's a bird? Or did you just...
No, not sure. I just ask. Sounds I hear.
Well, everybody keep your ears out. If it comes from all around, it could be something.
Could be a lot of birds.
Could be a lot of somethings.
And every now and then, now that he's kind of pulled it forth, like there is a slight wind blowing, so it's kind of hard to pick up all the sounds that are around you. But you guys do occasionally hear it. There's not a great explanation for it, but you hear it. And the darkness starts to creep in pretty quickly with the mountains.
Dan, I'm going to try to mimic the sound and pantomime it back.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Um,
How did it go again? Like,
Slower.
except I'm doing it on my shield though. Like I'm
Clank, clank,
Yeah,
clank, clank.
you hear silence.
cling cling.
You hear the wind.
Yes, let's call them to us. Get it over with at least.
The sun kind of dips below the mountains, and it begins to get dark pretty quickly here. But Matt, from your kind of reading of the map earlier, you know that that first campsite is pretty close. And as you guys round one of the bends, one of those rock kind of outcroppings is pretty notable here. It kind of forms a semicircle, and you can see where people have had fires here, based on like kind of the soot that's on the stone, like up against the wall. But it does look like the whole area has been kind of swept pretty clean recently, clearly by that water, wherever that source was.
What time of year is it? Season.
It is, we'll say it's late spring.
Okay. Yeah, so Veet's only experience on the road has been on like trading paths, like traveling with caravans, things like that. So outside cities a little bit, but not like wild nature. So as we get to kind of a campsite, he kind of looks around, waiting for like the caravan to set up camp.
Yep. The old city boy.
Well,
Veed, why don't you go collect some wood? We'll see if we can get a fire going.
Yeah. I'll
small and big. A mixture of both.
smell big.
And preferably not washed out. As dry as you can get.
It's not as important, but just as much as you can carry.
you kind of head off into the kind of periphery here, and again, you hear that kind of light knocking, but nothing presents itself, and it never you hear it from one direction, and you kind of push towards it, thinking that you might be able to spot it when it goes again, and then the next time you hear it, it's from somewhere else.
All right. As it gets darker, Veet casts light on a little charm, and
Roll the die.
oh no, I don't have to. This is a cantrip.
Okay, got it.
Only
okay.
for first level.
Got it.
But he
Roll the no.
he does it at first. Kind of moves around and stops and listens, and kind of continues to try to absorb information about this area, and then he focuses on gathering up some wood and uses light in a probably fairly city slicker way.
I was gonna say when you use light and you're kind of out here collecting wood in the forest, and the light kind of is pretty harsh.
Yeah.
And it kind of throws everything into pretty high contrast. And, as a city guy, you do feel a little out of your element.
Mm-hmm.
There are things out here that you're not accustomed to being prone to. So
I gather the wood quicker.
Gotcha. You guys set up a fire, and you kind of set up camp, and you're good for the night.
All right, I'm rolling stew.
Roll for stew.
Roll for stew.
Oh, I rolled an 18.
Yeah, bud.
A fucking chorus.
What's your survival?
3, so 21.
Okay.
Good fucking
All right.
stew.
Good stew. You kind of mix the provisions that you had. You kind of mix and match, and you make something that's pretty tasty for the road.
Yeah, get some salted meats in there for a nice broth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Find some,
Make a stew
forage
out
up
of
some
that.
nice
Yeah.
funguses and some nice mushrooms, some tree barks to season it.
This will all make sense for our listeners once they get a crack at Bloodstone Dagger.
Yeah. If you think Helgis and the Hard Boys or something, wait for and in the moment.
Yeah. Legendary band, folks. All right. Sunrise the next day. And John.
Yeah.
You're up early.
Mm-hmm.
You're used to being in the woods. Or at least you've traveled
The
enough.
wilderness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When hunting for monsters.
Yep.
You're up early, and you're kind of on the rock outcropping that you guys had camped out. And as the sun rises, you're going to look up the mountain, and you see the fog burning off here and there. But one thing that's kind of maybe a little unsettling is the fog almost has this greenish, baleful look. It's not everywhere.
Yeah.
It just seems to be coming up in certain pockets over the forests that you can see, kind of looking up the mountain. It kind of dips away from you and then rises up again, and you can see that. But it's kind of hard to say whether it's a trick of the light or whether
It actually is green.
Yeah.
I make a mental note of where those patches seem to be, and I actually watch them for a while to see if they move or if they kind of stay in one spot.
Yeah, I mean, most of them seem to stay in one spot,
Yeah.
and they're kind of pockmarked up towards north where you're heading. But other than that, nothing really jumps out to you. You guys begin packing up the campsite and kind of kick out the fire and start heading north again.
Now he's brought us a good day for a walk.
Indeed, although when I was on watch or when I woke up early, the fog, I don't know if it was my eyes or not, but some of it looked like a greenish color. Al, you ever heard of a fog in a rotted forest with a green hue?
Are you fucking kidding me? A swamp with green fog? It's decaying forest around us.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't always have to be green.
Yeah, no, toxic things generally aren't, green and stuff when they,
Can I make a nature check to see if I notice anything around us? Any
Sure.
of these green
Go ahead.
patches?
Yeah. By the way, I'm gonna openly admit this. It's been a while since I've DM'd, and to everyone listening, yes, I should have killed the party they didn't set up watches. I admit that. I take that blame. But they survived.
Get one free.
Last night. Yep.
Watches were set.
Okay. Yeah.
That's only an
Right,
11.
Helgus?
Of course.
You got an 11, Matt?
Yeah.
One thing you do notice is that everything seems to be doing a little more poorly as you climb further into the mountains. It's spring, things should be budding, but you see some things that are rotting.
Well, whatever it is seems to be killing this fort. So he's gonna
And he pulls up a cloth and kind of wraps it around his face.
I suggest the rest of you put on a mask. This doesn't exactly look hospitable.
Veet does not feel like I should be mandated to wear.
Hey, it's your choice. You can do what you want, but I'm not coming back to save you if you go down, just as an FYI.
One thing, and again, as you guys push forward and march along, there are still those washed out sections of road. Some of the trees here, you do notice it's some combination between what looks like, I don't know if you've seen those kind of sporish mushrooms, the kind of bulbous ones. There seem to be a lot more of them in places where you wouldn't necessarily think that they would grow, kind of out in the open, rather than kind of in the shadow.
shade, yeah.
And
Have we seen signs of any living creatures like
you've seen
geopaths or anything like that?
Yep, you have, and you've heard birds kind of chirping, but it's I wouldn't say you could really place that whether it's more or less, but it's certainly maybe becoming a little more infrequent as you push on. Not entirely, though. You still hear the occasional bird sing. You hear something in the underbrush, usually a rabbit of some sort or something like that.
Do we still hear that knocking?
You haven't heard it yet. For anyone who was on watch, you did hear it a couple of times over the course of the night. Maybe each person that was on watch maybe heard it once or twice. But yeah, those spores seem to be on a number of trees, kind of gathering in number. And then some of the trees almost seem to have like, it looks like the sap is kind of in a pool on the side of them, almost like a sore on the side of the tree.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That is not normal.
No,
It's not the forest of Nestia.
This place is sick. There's something corrupting all of this.
Yes, this is good. If we follow this further north, we will see more of the same, and we will know we're going in the right direction, yeah?
Well, the map tells us that. So, yeah, sure.
This could be true.
Ooh,
We're here to find something.
let us look ahead. Let us stop. Who is
What is
that?
it?
Who?
Who?
You guys all see now that Hilgis has pointed it out, you see a body lying in the road, probably about 50 yards from you.
Bartosz draws his hand axes and starts to move towards it.
Hilgis? Well, what should we do?
We should approach with caution. He's probably not a trap, but, better to be safe.
The ruffles his cloak, cast mage armor.
Yeah.
Roll.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. And Matt, what do you do?
I'm gonna pull out my warhammer.
Nice. Rolling with a warhammer. How many? We got. This party's got a lot of hammers.
Got some,
Two
got some
hammers, 2 axes, and whatever.
and mage armor.
And mage armor.
You guys kind of approach cautiously this body that is laying face down in the road.
As we're no, don't do that. That'd be too smart.
Barto's kind of, he's probably ahead of everybody else. Gets close to it and then looks up and looks at the surroundings, kind of seeing if anyone is around. And then looks, if he doesn't see anything, he looks back down.
Make a perception check for me.
Roll no one, baby. Oh. What is my 16.
16. You don't see anything moving
Yeah.
in kind of the forest around you or off the sides of the road. What you do notice is more of what you saw earlier on. You see those kind of like fibrous roots, those white roots that have kind of come up around some of the bases of the trees. You also, you kind of can spot, you can see that it seems to be around the body too.
Emanating from or towards?
It looks like they're coming up out of the ground and are kind of on the profile of the body. And you do see some of those white flowers as well, not the corpse ones, but the white flowers. And they seem to have grown kind of in the periphery of that body as well.
V takes a lead from Bartos, and V's not a stranger to danger situations. He's just more like following Bartos' lead of like where to look in the wilds, and kind of does the same thing and probably doesn't see anything more, and then moves closer to the body.
All right.
Could it be alive?
As you guys,
I don't think so. I wouldn't get too close to those vines. Looks like more of them are propagating.
What's he
Whatever
wearing?
is corrupting.
He's not one of ours, is it?
Does he look like a member?
he looks like a tradesman.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
you can't
remains.
he is lying. His face is kind of turned towards the ground, like he's almost face planted.
Yeah.
And his clothes look pretty shoddy. It looks like, based on the belt that he's wearing, that he might have been some sort of tradesman, maybe a mason. But the body itself is very emaciated.
Doesn't look like one of ours. Maybe a tradesman.
I draw my cowl up over my mouth as a mask, and I get close to the body. I'm looking down at these white roots and not stepping on them, but getting as close as I can to the body without.
As you approach,
touching it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the body, and it looks like they're very kind of thin, thin root structure. Think like mycelium, and it looks like it's
mycelium.
Yeah.
Throw that out there. But it's like these kind of white fibrous roots, very thin, not much thicker than like a string, and it looks like kind of where the body has like landed on the ground, that they've kind of attached themselves all around the periphery of the body.
Oh, the dust in that Instagram, is that the dust like from Knife's Edge? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
You don't know that.
Not for.
I mean, dust in general is a thing that all of you have heard of. And for our listeners out there, dust is sort of it is what it sounds like. It's dust, but it's a mineral that's kind of mined in Regnum, post-awakening, post-magic, returning to the lands. And the dust itself is kind of like it has magical properties, or it's an additive that can be used with other materials to make things, magical items. So it's relatively new to our setting, but it is a sort of component that's often used for magical things.
Bartos kind of points at somewhat like a group of the flowers with his axe and says, they say that those flowers, they grow near dust.
Dust, we may find more than Tredecium bargained for. Very lucrative.
Or what they're looking for anyway.
If this thing is feeding on dust, then it might be very dangerous.
Oh, the body, these roots, safe to touch? Can I check him?
Can I make nature check?
Nature? Yeah, go ahead.
That's going to be 18.
Nice. You know that roots like this, generally they're never dangerous to touch. And most likely in this case, it's probably pretty safe. Roots aren't very fast moving. So it's more than likely, even if they did have kind of ill intent, that they wouldn't really react. Like you'd be able to handle them and kind of get away from them if that were an
Those
issue.
roots are coming right for me.
They're really sneaking up on me.
And there's no mushrooms on the corpse. It's just the mycelium.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you can touch it. I'd stay away from the fruiting bodies, though. Those might be dangerous.
The what?
The mushrooms.
No fruit.
Oh, okay.
I draw the cowl tight around my mouth, and I start to check the body.
Okay. You kind of start to feel kind of up and down or like kind of around his pockets. You feel like there might be something tucked underneath him, just based on like the way his belt is pulled to one side, but you'd probably have to flip him over in order to get to it.
All right. I flip him.
Okay. As you do that, it kind of pulls.
Fucking drew it. It was fine.
It kind of, and the roots start to tear as you flip him. And as he kind of rolls over, he also begins to kind of cave in. And it's like his body was kind of almost burned from the inside out. And it kind of it was holding its form. But as you kind of tip it over, it all starts to fall apart and disintegrate and turn into this kind of ash and start to like float away in the wind.
Definitely don't breathe that.
Yeah.
What the?
It didn't.
Why?
The body didn't look like it had been there like eons, right? It's not.
No, but it was pretty emaciated,
Yeah.
but you don't know
Why?
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No obvious cause of death.
Nope.
Okay.
I do it's too late now. I was going to use my warhammer and perform an autopsy, but I mean,
You can see kind of, it's not quite a chalk outline, but where he was lying is kind of that root structure in that position. And as you kind of look, you see it, John, kind of at the tips of those roots. You can see kind of a general shimmer, which you think could be dust.
Oh,
As the body kind of starts to disintegrate, I cast prestidigitation and kind of make a wind that blows it away from me
Nice.
as I reach under and recover whatever was hidden.
I kneel down to one of the ends of the root and I kind of pluck it away and
It snaps off in your hand.
take a good look at it.
And you can see it like as you snapped the root kind of in the fibrous end of it, you can see just tiny, like almost like glitter
Yeah.
here and there inside the actual veins of it.
I take my thumb and like try to wipe some off.
A few like specks are on your hand.
Well,
This man's been to a strip club.
100%.
he got a couple dances and couldn't pay, so they threw him out on the street.
Well, my game's over, I guess. You guys solved it.
This is dust. I show it to Veet.
In the
Seems like he would appreciate the most.
can I cast detect magic?
Sure, go ahead.
Hold on one sec.
Well, I mean, really, I just tell you
I was
what's
gonna say,
going
wait,
on.
There's just no roll.
Yeah, I had a mental moment. Sorry. Do it. Yeah, just do it. Go ahead. All right, we're done. Moving on.
I dare
that's-
you.
So just so everybody
Double
knows,
dog.
that is a special ability that's given to the Arcanum class.
Cool.
That's right. Yep. And you,
Is it a device that you have as part of that canon? Or is it like a special?
your choice, Matt.
No, I'd say it's a spell that he's been taught through the Arcanum, and you kind of see him pluck one of the threads from his vest that he wears, one of those shimmering threads, and he kind of holds it up, and you see him sort of whisper into the wind and like sort of blow it from the tips of his fingers, and it like it almost disperses like that body did into a fine powdery mist in the air and blows away.
Nice.
After you kind of finish your spell casting, you kind of look back down at where the body lay, and it's clear to you. You kind of see auras of magic that you see all these kind of little pieces of magic. It's not, you don't see any like actual single source of it, but as you kind of look, you kind of see it fading into the ground where the roots are going.
Okay, is it only in this spot, or is it kind of like, does it glisten around us?
It glistens wherever you see those roots. And it seems, as you watch it, it seems to have that general pulling down into the ground.
Okay.
It's not a lot. It's not like glaring. It's just all these kind of little pinpricks of magic, kind of universal magic. And it's getting drawn into the root system.
These spores, they seem to almost be feeding on this dust. It's everywhere. Any root system you see, it seems to be taking it and drawing it down.
Well, that's a lot of money in those roots.
It's everywhere.
We could farm it.
I don't. Well, perhaps I don't. We've got a mission. It's not. We have to find out what happened to Barrick.
Josh,
Was there anything hidden under this body?
it was just a small coin pouch.
Okay.
It's got 10 copper and 5 silver in it.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, mark it.
Yes, Ali's right. We need to continue on. We can report this when we return, but we have another mission to attend to.
You guys kind of look down now at this body that once was, and yeah, it's bizarre. It's hard to understand how it would happen, why it would happen, and you press on. And as you press on, you've kind of hit midday now. You're moving into the afternoon, and maybe about
lunch break.
maybe about an hour from where you, I'll say, actually more like 3 hours or so, where you found the body. You come across, it's kind of weird. It's like bed sheets tied up as a rope. It looks like maybe there was like a potato sack that was torn up and into strips, into lengths. And it's this very homemade rope that is kind of just lying there on the road. And it continues up the road.
What is that?
It is not so much of a climb, I think, to need help.
How far off in the distance
Children?
does it stretch?
You can't see an end to it.
What? Is it I'm gonna pick up the end of it. Is it wet or
It's dry.
dry? All right.
Yeah. And you pick it up and you can clearly see that it follows the road.
Should we follow it or pull it? I vote pull it.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a tug.
Sure.
All right. You like set your feet and you pull, and the first length of it snaps off in your hand and you go flying backwards. It's clearly homemade. Someone was using anything that they could. You see like what looks like a sleeve in some of it. All
What the
sorts
hell
of
is the
things.
purpose of this thing?
I don't know, but if we had gotten more food instead of rope, we could have used this.
Well, it's not very strong.
True.
But
Put my
if it-
life behind it.
If it's snapped, it's got to be attached to something, right?
Or is very, very long.
Yeah, I mean, now that you look at that, it looks like if you look further up, that on one of the bends, it's just up against a tree. That it's gone one loop around a branch, and then that's where you were pulling from, and that's why it snapped. So, but otherwise, it just from that tree branch loops back down onto the road and carries on.
I hate to say, but I want to follow.
Well, I hate to say, I
we're going that
don't
way
really want
anyway.
to follow that. That's fucking strange, guys. I mean, I don't want to be a soft boy,
just-
but that's fucking strange.
Could be kids.
Kids.
Could be.
Have you seen any people? I haven't seen an adult. What do you think? There's kids running around? I heard this story once about these kids who lived in a cornfield. I don't think things wound up well for anybody with that either.
Well, we need to find Barrick.
Well, yeah.
And we're going this way anyway.
Maybe the men we found left it.
Sure, we'll go with that. You lead the way, Veet.
He could have been lost for a long
Yeah,
time.
go ahead.
In the
He
north.
just had all these clothes hanging off of him the whole time, but we found him fully dressed. No, it makes total sense. Let's go. Come on. Chop, chop.
I think I know. So he may have used all the sheets to make a trail, so he didn't get lost. But then he wandered too far.
Then he got lost.
And he almost made it back. He was so close.
Maybe he's been here since a great blizzard. It's not so late in the season.
Or whatever flood happened.
Fair.
Somehow he was hanging on for dear life.
I
And then he let go.
will walk
He's sad.
to the side.
Oh, yeah.
You guys take a step. You start walking along the road again, and it's just this very innocuous rope that is trailing along the side of the road, and it periodically goes to a tree, wraps around a branch like it's sort of anchored, and then goes back to the road.
Do you think it's a guide, Veet? They got lost. Or someone got lost. So they tied this.
It's hard to get lost on a trail, but maybe. If it was washed out.
You couldn't see the road.
You guys do notice that there are those spots where it's washed out.
Maybe the water is running, use it as a guide rope.
But why be so careful about being on the road? What were they avoiding?
You guys are kind of having this conversation as you're walking up the road, and
Veet starts to walk off the road.
sure,
He does his thing where he kind of bops back and forth. He's not he doesn't look like a scout, like a rangery kind of scout.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, almost like if you're just walking around and this guy kind of keeps walking faster.
it's
and
like
he
someone who
walks.
paces when they talk
Yep.
or on the phone.
But once he gets a little further away, he is quiet
Mm-hmm.
when he moves away. He's not necessarily good at moving in the wilderness.
sure,
But he starts to think of it as like a street and gets up to a higher spot and we're going up the street. So he's going to go up to the side and it looks like it banks around to the left. So he gets up to a little bit higher spot on the left and just kind of starts doing that and never far.
yep. Because you're doing that, you're the first to spot what looks like another rest area and a campsite. It's a broad, cleared area, and again, another rock formation that keeps it out of the wind. And the sun has again dipped behind those mountains, and those shadows come on really fast when you're up here. And so, pretty soon, in almost kind of a matter of minutes, and making the day a bit shorter, the sun dips below the mountains and it goes pretty dark. You can the sky is still light, but you're in heavy shadow.
Yeah, you lost the sun. Well, good as time as any to make another camp.
You guys are probably one day, maybe two, based on Matt's map. But having found each campsite, you're likely on a good pace. So you'll likely be there tomorrow.
Well, you're as good as any. And take a look around.
I head out and look for wood and also
Sure.
search around.
Yeah. Why don't you make a search or survival?
I'd
your
like to
pick.
look around for signs of animal life, that kind of stuff.
Veet's going to go with Bartosz and just kind of observe him and observe he's looking around for stuff, but he's watching how Bartosz looks around at stuff.
You see, what'd you get?
A
Matt?
10.
A 10? You see him, he'll stop and look at like kind of shrubs, bushes to see if, and he explains to you that, if there's any broken branches, it can sometimes show the sign that things have moved through here. You look in any areas that there's mud, that's an easy place for tracks to show up. But generally, one thing you do find a little frustrating is that the wood here seems to be a little more wet, a little more rotted.
Yeah.
You do find what you need for a campfire, but you do see more of those lesions. Matt, what did you roll?
Nat 20.
Woo! Wow.
What I
So
might be higher if it matters, but what would you want? Nature, search, investigate?
with nature, why don't we say that with a nat 20 nature check, you definitely know that the rot is getting worse as you are heading north. It's been pretty evident. There's more evidence of those white roots on some of the larger trees here. And you do notice some animal corpses. You still hear animals, so they're not completely gone, but this whole time that you've been out, you've only heard maybe like a nightingale once, but not a lot of other chitter. And on some of those animal corpses, you again see those roots, and you've even spotted some of those white flowers that John had mentioned.
Okay. Nothing like fresh or currently or recently dead.
No, nothing recently dead. And you also see on some of the trees, some of that corpse leaf, they call it. It's a vine that's can be very invasive. It's kind of uncommon though, and it will choke things and kind of bring. It's like a kudzu almost, really harmful to an environment.
Fucking botanist podcast.
Yeah, right.
We went from chef podcast to botanist podcast.
But you guys are able to gather. What's Hilgis doing back at the campsite?
I am attempting to set up camp.
All right, with a -1 to survival. So far, you've opened up the food and just begun eating.
There's a canvas and some poles that are just kind of laying on the ground.
Absolutely.
There might be a hole in the canvas that wasn't there before.
Yep.
And
you've definitely staked it out incorrectly.
Yeah. And I'm eating some jerky.
Mm-hmm. As Bartosz goes back to camp, I kind of lag behind, and then I stop like a little crest to rise to the side, and I wait there like a kind of like a train feature way as they make camp. And like having watched Alan and Bartosz, I start to just kind of look around and perceive, and I'm going to use a use of my lucky feat.
Okay.
Just do a perception.
Yeah, sure.
What's
Go for
going
it.
on around?
No, Hilgus, that's all wrong. Have you ever set up a camp before?
23.
Why would you think
23.
the poles
No,
go in
I
the middle?
usually stay in taverns and inns.
Besides, you sleep in the middle of the fucking. Okay.
How is it going to be held up without something in the middle? I don't
Tension.
understand.
That's what the ropes are for. Just sit.
Here.
I'm sensing the tension right now. This is really uncomfortable.
Well, it's going to be uncomfortable if it rains tonight. You're going to sleep underneath that hole. That's all I'm saying. Bartosz, you take this end.
He's patch it.
I got it.
Josh, with that 23, you are standing kind of out there and the wind's coming down the mountain. You hear the knocking again. And one thing now that you're standing there listening, you know that it's not just a wooden sound. There's something else that's knocking. It's not just something knocking on wood. It's some other material as well. It's hard to place, but you know that it's a different texture or a different substance that's knocking.
Okay. I stay there for a bit and observe until I think.
You hear it maybe 3 times over the course of I don't know, how long do you stay out there?
Half hour.
Yeah. You'll be here kind of almost, I mean, not once every 10 minutes, but kind of that frequency.
Okay. And then
I actually find you. Veet. Oh, good. You're all right.
but
It stops when you heard him talk. After that, you don't hear it.
the knocking comes back. It's not wood. Or not just wood. Something else. I don't know.
Oh, what else is out here? I guess stone. Does it sound like stone?
It could be. It could be, but it sounds maybe lighter than that. Maybe not quite so dense.
Not so hard. Hollow.
Could be.
That's strange. To hear it all the way the past couple days.
There's a minstrel in Vragos, comes from the Plainslands. He plays an instrument of bone. Not so different than that.
Yeah. You kind of think that, and you think about it some more, and you're like, yeah, I think that's the sound.
Great. Something smashing bones against each other. That's comforting.
He's a very good minstrel. It's great entertainment. Epoch is his name. I do not think Epoch is here, of course.
Yeah, the wind kind of dies again and then comes back up, and you guys don't hear anything else.
We have to eat.
Yes, food is ready.
Food's getting thin.
Hopefully we can find something to hunt, although Al said he saw a few corpses, but no animals.
I took the liberty of only marking off 2 days' rations because of that survival roll you made.
You guys sit around the fire and have your rations, and that kind of spring chill kind of sets in a little, so you guys get a little closer to the fire, and that's the night. Do you guys? Now I'll ask. Do you guys set watches?
Hell yeah.
I think we should stick with not setting watches.
Yeah, it's worked great.
It worked the first time.
What's the order?
I'll take what's this, 4 of us? So I'll take third watch.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll take first watch.
sure.
You want to do last?
Sure.
All right, I will take second.
Okay. Matt, third watch. You're starting to get the nods. It's early. It's that 3 a.m. hour. It is kind of, it's drawing to the end of your watch. You've kind of snapped your head up once or twice. The only thing that you've heard over the course of the night is that knocking. But you've only heard it once or twice over the few hours that you've been awake. The fire is kind of low. You can see the embers, but do dwarves have dark vision?
Yep,
Yeah.
60
Okay.
feet. So I step 1
60
foot
feet.
outside of camp.
So you guys can you can see, Matt, kind of the grays and darks of the area of the trees around you, of the rock formation. And you've been sitting still for a while, kind of at the edge of camp. And when you go to wake up, who's taking Veet? When you go to wake up Veet, as you get up, you realize that some of those roots, those white roots, have attached to you. No! Around you, on your legs. They just kind of crept in while you were kind of sitting there in the cool wind. And you have to pull to get free. It's not very hard, but as you're kind of pulling it up, you're like, it's kind of grabbing at you. You then hear the sound of running. And that's where we're going to stop.
Oh, God.
Root man. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed another installment of our Choose Your Own Adventure series. Our intro music is by Wilhelm Screen. Our outro music is by Antti Martikainen. Scores are by Antti Martikainen and Adrian von Ziegler. Find links to check out all of them, as well as links to all of our social media, bonus episodes, and a lot more stuff at our website, nastygramrpg.com. See you next Tuesday.
That's nasty.
So apparently that's what Al sounds like.
Yeah, it's,
Like a teeny bit of Mickey Mouse. And
I was like, I'm just going to open my mouth and see what sound comes out. And that was it. And was like, fuck, this is going to suck.
we'll say he's a pubescent dwarf. You know, he doesn't. The old nuts haven't dropped.
Yeah, his stones haven't fallen.